morning. Thank you all for joining us today. We're here for an important announcement that shows that Baltimore is serious about protecting our taxpayers. For the past couple of years, I have the honor of working closely with Solicitor Andre Davis. Baltimore City is truly blessed to have such a talented and experienced public servant. It is really unusual for a sitting United States Court of Appeal judge, someone who stepped away from the Supreme Court and a lifetime appointment, to step away in order to take on this role. In my view, the much more difficult role as city solicitor, but Andre Davis was born and raised in East Baltimore. I'm a proud East Baltimore guy. And his dedication to police reform and to helping to uplift his beloved city led him to this calling. He's going to get into the particulars of this important legal case in a second, but I just wanted to deliver a message to the bad actors out there that who seeks to prey on the citizens of Baltimore. There's a capable sheriff in town, and his name is Judge Davis. And together we are sending a signal to all the bad corporative actors that we'll do everything in our power to stop you and to hold you accountable for preying on the vulnerable citizens of Baltimore. With that, Judge Davis, please come on up.
Mayor Young, thank you so very much. This is quite a remarkable opportunity that you've given the law department and our partners to just say a few words to the people of Baltimore and express our deep commitment to protecting the resources, the financial resources, and more importantly, the health and well-being of the people, residents, and visitors of Baltimore City. When I became a city solicitor, I made it my mission, among other things, to protect the people of Baltimore and to do so aggressively and to go after those entities, people and corporations, including banks, that might inflict harm, financial harm or other kinds of harm, on the people of Baltimore. And we have successfully, in the law department, stood up what we call an affirmative litigation group, headed by my dear friend and colleague Suzanne Sangri, and assisted by other lawyers in the department. What we have done in this practice group, Mr. Mayor, is we have focused on those inside the city and outside the city who pose a risk of harm, financial harm or other harms, to the people of Baltimore. And we look at the law, federal law, state law, local law, common law, to determine whether the city has a means of redress against those who impose these kinds of harms. We have, for example, sued the federal administration in Washington several times when we have been put at risk of losing important grant funds to support our young people, and in particular, pregnancy education. We have sued the national administration when our immigrant community has been harmed through unlawful changes in federal policies aimed at making it more difficult for immigrant families to take advantage of the benefits to which they are entitled by law. Baltimore City, for many years, has had a problem of narcotic addiction. We all know that. But the advent of the opioid epidemic that is ravaging the country is having a particularly ravaging effect on the people of Baltimore City and its institutions, and on the city itself. I just learned that already this year we have more than 250 overdose deaths in Baltimore City already this year, more than all of the overdose deaths in other jurisdictions in Maryland combined. And so for these and other reasons, we have stepped up together with our co-counsel to bring lawsuits against the big pharmaceutical companies who reporting shows without much doubt have been culpably involved in fostering, dispensing, distributing, encouraging doctors and bribing doctors to excessively prescribe, distribute, sell, and put on the street these highly addictive narcotics, the opioids that are devastating to our city. So we are bringing that lawsuit We are one of the few jurisdictions in America that has successfully managed to keep the lawsuit in state court. And we're very pleased that we are litigating this case in state court, and we are doing so with our great partners, the Sussman Godfrey law firm, headquartered in New York, who are cooperating with us. Now, we could not do any of this work, the opioid lawsuit or the lawsuit we filed against the fossil fuel industry, including ExxonMobil and Chevron and BP. We could not do any of this work without the incredible support of our directors around the city, Mr. Mayor, and their agency personnel. And they are here with us today, and I'm so pleased to be able to recognize them for the support that they have given us, including but not limited to Mr. Henry, the Director of Finance, our new Health Commissioner, Dr. Jerisa, who just joined us, following in the footsteps of Dr. Nguyen, who was very supportive of us. Of course, the people at Public Works, who've been very instrumental in aiding us in identifying the grounds for bringing lawsuit for BCP's contamination. And we're here with Paul DeSantis from the Office of Rudy Child, the Department of Public Works, and so many others that I won't take time to mention. Certainly the police department on the opioid lawsuit, the fire department, and Amy Beth Leisure, Chief of Staff to Chief Fields, Chief Ford at the fire department, all have been just so instrumental in providing the assistance that we need to assemble the records, to identify sources of information, to educate us on some of the science and some of the other issues that are so key to our success. And I want to name specifically, in addition to Ms. Sangri, the head of the Affirmative Litigation Group in the Law Department, Aaron DeGraffenreich, Liz Ryan, Chris Lundy, and others in the law department who have come together to bring these cases and support our co-counsel as we bring these cases. I want to close, Mr. Mayor, just by mentioning specifically the case that you alluded to. Financial fraud against municipalities is a real problem in this country. Baltimore, like many other counties and cities in the country, rely on the integrity and the honesty of the financial system in making sure that our fiscal houses are in order, and to make sure that we never pay more than the market requires us to pay for the bonding processes that is so critical to our infrastructure needs and our operating needs as well, in terms of wastewater, sewer, and other operational needs. And so recently, in the last few days, together with our law firm, Sussman Godfrey, we have filed a lawsuit against Fannie Mae sponsored banks, including Citibank, Bank of America, and a number of others, who we believe we have firm evidence to show that those banks have conspired to increase the cost of these so-called FFB bonds issued by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to support the housing industry around the country. The manipulation of these prices, we contend, has resulted in an imposition of six-figure costs to the city of Baltimore, and we are determined, with the aid of very expert counsel, to seek redress on behalf of the City of Baltimore, Mayor and City Council, and the people of Baltimore, because we will not stand still and permit these kinds of shenanigans to go on. Big banks, are able to hide a lot of what they do. And we are fortunate when investigators, including the Department of Justice, which is investigating these series of transactions, bring to light the possibility that cities like Baltimore have been harmed. And so we in the law department stand ready, day in and day out, to examine reports from all over, government reports, media reports, and reports from our lawyer partners out there in the field to bring to our attention those opportunities that might present us with the possibility of recovering funds for the city. So that's what we've done in this case, and we will report further as the case goes forward. We're obviously in the early stage of this matter. We have asked to be named as the representative of others who've been harmed, so we're filing the case. We have filed the case as a class action. And we believe Baltimore is well positioned to take the lead in these kinds of cases and represent a class of counties and municipalities all over the country to seek redress, not just for Baltimore, but for others similarly situated. So let me close by simply saying this is a big case. There's a second antitrust case that we filed a couple of weeks ago that's also a big case. But it's not just the big cases that we're going after, Mr. Mayor. I can tell you, for example, we uncovered an example of a former firefighter who committed a very gross workers' compensation fraud against the city. In the grand scheme of things, that's a small case. But we likewise have gone after that individual, and we've been able to get a settlement from him, and he will reimburse the city for what he stole from the city. And so that's our attitude, Mr. Mayor. If you steal from the city, if you manipulate the market, if you increase our costs in our bonding processes, if you pollute our water, if you enhance the difficulties we already encounter with narcotic addiction in our city by fraudulently issuing and paying doctors to issue prescriptions and creating a black market for additional opioids, the Baltimore City Law Department, together with our outside law partners, stand ready to come after you, to seek redress, and to go to the judiciary to ask for relief that we believe we're entitled to. So we appreciate the support of all our agencies, of the council, the members of the council, and of the people as we go about bringing about redress to the city. And I appreciate this opportunity to speak on these issues. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. Davis, you're taking a strong line about ripping off the city. Do you think that the law department did enough to make sure that there were no conflicts of interest around deals that Mayor Pugh had oversight of?
The law department has no oversight over conflicts of interest. Any other questions?
Should they? Should the law department have oversight over conflicts of interest?
I don't think so.
Could you talk a bit more about the 90-day or the review of the last 90 days of contracts that the mayor has asked the law department to do?
It's only just getting underway, and there's not much more to say. We're going to look at contracts to make sure that the Mayor Young is satisfied that the city's done everything it was required to do to ensure that the bidding processes that have long applied in the city have been complied with.
Has the city been issued a subpoena regarding Catherine Pugh's investigation?
Let me say this about subpoenas, and I've said this to a few of you. Almost without exception, when the city law department is served with a subpoena for records from a law enforcement agency, those agencies always ask us to maintain the confidentiality of those subpoenas. And almost without exception, we always agree. We do not want to hinder or impede, and we will not hinder or impede any investigation. So the law department will not confirm, until it's appropriate to do so, the receipt of any subpoena. In due course, the law department will be in a position where it can produce to the media and to the public copies of any subpoenas that might be served. But that will not happen during the investigation of any matters that the law department is thought to have an ability to assist. And we will cooperate fully.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you all.